All right, guys, we are back. Chris Bucket live at the desk here in New York City at the MLG offices. You are watching the eSports Report. If you're watching on your Xbox 360, you're in my running for some big prizes. We got Benson and Kingdom Soldier on the line, and we're talking the UGC Niagara bracket. We just broke down the top half saying complexity, FaZe Red, not Justice, Strictly Business, and Envy all moving through. Let's take a look at our bracket before we jump in to the bottom half. Gonna be some interesting matches here on the second side of the bracket, guys. The first one, Team Caliber, FaZe Black, Optic VVV, Curse Orange Vex Gaming, and then Optic Nation with a bonus V going up against AM number 3. Let's go ahead and jump right into things with Team Caliber versus FaZe Black. FaZe Black picking up Brian Saint for this event. Saints not able to cross the border, will not be able to attend the event. Do not know what the reason was behind his disappearance last minute for the tournament, but Brian Saint getting out of his exams, able to attend the event. For Team Caliber, this is the usual lineup: Apathy, Sharp, Goonjar, and Neslo. However, Apathy on a cruise, they went after a new player in Mad Cat. So TK and FaZe Black both playing with brand new lineups. FaZe Black has the opportunity of playing through the amateur bracket to warm up. And Mad Cat, Benson, we talked about it at the start of the show, one of the best gamers of all time from Europe, an absolute nasty slayer. Kingdom, let's start with you, my friend. Who's stronger now, the new FaZe Black or the new TK for this tournament?
That's a great question. I honestly, to be honest with you, when Saints was on their team, I was gonna pick them to win this. You know, I was gonna honestly pick them to beat Complexity and to finally to take them down again, kinda. You know, because they've changed a little bit, but they're similar to that SB team. I'm gonna say that Team Caliber is stronger. Saint tweeted out that he has not practiced at all. Although he also said that he's had his highest placing ever at UMG Philly without practicing with the Juke squad, with Imbos and those guys. And they just surprised everyone and kind of went crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to see that same level of success at this point in the game. The meta game has changed. People have figured out different ways of doing things. Different weapons are being used, different strategies. I don't think it's going to be as easy to just surprise everyone and win like that. And so I think Team Caliber is going to come out on top. However, Sharp has to be Sharp. There's a very interesting stat that I don't even know if you have, Puckett, but was sent to me by the guys over at COD Stats, and it's called the X Factor, and it's basically it takes the KD of whole teams and then compares against when they have a negative KD and says which player, when they play the best, the team does the best. And at COD Champs for TK, that was Sharp. And you can see that with Sharp struggling, with Sharp struggling right now, as much as he is in the league, they're struggling as a team. TK is struggling as a team. And so I think that if Sharp shows up and he plays that X Factor role, because when Sharp does well, TK does well. If Sharp does well, TK is going to do well in this tournament. So Sharp's got to kind of step up in every area, like KD, caps, everything. He's really struggling in the league as far as statistically goes. Maybe he's missing theory. I don't know. They played off of each other really well. So if Sharp can kind of step it up and him and Goon can use their chemistry, I think they're going to take FaZe Black and they're the stronger team.
Yeah, let me break down some of these stats here. I have the numbers right here. 1.07 for Goonjar, 1.05 for Neslo when it comes to KD. Apathy was at 1.05 as well. Sharp, 0.82, obviously struggling overall. That's just all kills versus all deaths. And when it comes to search and destroy, something that I usually consider one of his strengths, he's actually 0.73, the lowest on the team. But we've seen Sharp go absolutely enormous when it matters. He did it just 2 weeks ago with the 2K. And here is a look at the squad when playing with Apathy, a 1.0 overall KD. SND, they're still a very strong squad, especially after adding Neslo, 1.05. They don't get too many plants off at just one per game. That's a big surprising one for me. And when it comes to the objective, those stats not so accurate. The blitz is actually 8.3 a game and 14.48 for the blitz caps. Sorry, we didn't update two of those lines. But Team Caliber, definitely a solid squad when it comes to the objective. The slaying power is a question. I think the addition of Mad Cat is going to be huge for this squad. Benson, how do you weigh this? FaZe Black versus this TK. Who's got the better mix here?
For me, it's pretty simple. TK, they lost a very good objective-based player, picked up the best Slayer in Europe. Then you look at, obviously, the FaZe lineup, lost the best player, like the best Slayer. They just lost him. He's no longer on that team. And don't get me wrong, they disrespect the Saint, but he isn't Saints, as I said earlier on in the show. So you look at the metagame now of how Call of Duty is kind of developing, and you look at when all those roster changes went down, you noticed one thing about a couple of teams, the way they were picking up, a lot of people have gone just for Slay-heavy teams. Look at Optic Gaming, for example. Scump, Proof, and Clay all on the same team. Like that's kind of crazy because they're recognizing what a Call do. And I've heard this thousands and thousands of times. I'm sure all the COD eSports fans as well. Anytime you go to a listening with Team Complexity, you'll hear Ake say, "Guys, take a breath. Let's just outslay him." And that's what they do. They simply get the most kills. It really is that simple. Because let's face it, if you can get like 3-4 players down and you can continuously outslay your opponents and lose, that's an easy fix. Because that's just, all right, we need to just work on our objective stuff better. Whereas if you're constantly getting outslayed and you're losing, that comes down to gun skill. That's something which is not that easy to fix. You have to then start really grinding out the game. Going back to obviously TK picking up Mad Cat, all right, there's going to be some issues, but I think they're going to come a little bit further down the bracket. I think for the first game, it should simply just easily go to TK, but both these two teams fighting for pro points as well. So who knows? But I would say TK.
Yeah, and I think this is a huge tournament for both squads. As you said, X Games pro points on the line. You got the 5K next Sunday. You got this weekend, 10,000 pro points going to the victor. Huge matchup here in round number 1. You guys both going TK. What's the score?
3-2.
Kingdom?
I'm gonna probably break your heart and my own. I'm gonna say FaZe Black 3-2. When I did my bracket, I didn't consider that Mad Cat was on TK, and I think that with Dito, if he has the type of game that he's had on LAN, if he has the type of game that he's having right now in the league, and if Censor does, Censor, and I think they played the most maps possible at COD Champs. I think Envy did, but they played, I had this written down, but they played FaZe Black. Censor had the most Dom caps, or he has the most Dom caps right now with more than 10 games played. And so I think I'm going to have to switch over to FaZe Black. I think that they're going to take this. I think that slaying power, the slaying power that you're talking about, Benson, is going to win this game for them.
Well, then the slaying power is with TK, though. FaZe lost Saints, who was their best slayer throughout all of regionals and champs.
And they picked up Saint.
Right, like, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he hasn't got the same slaying power as Mad Cat, who any European will tell you, and even some Americans. Like, I've had conversations with Killer and Miracles, and they said, hey, Mad Cat could potentially be one of the best in the world. Just hasn't had a time to really prove himself. You put that in the TK line. The only problem I see with TK there is the communication. That's just me, though.
Yeah, and that's what I agree with. Is I think that the problem with TK is with changing this roster. There's some definite issues going on with their team.
I agree.
If they can figure it out, they can beat FaZe Black. But I can tell you, this guy named Doug Censor, he is going to will his team to victory if he has to in order to get to X Games. And they can't lose first round and make it. They're going to struggle if they lose first round. So
Definitely.
I think they might take it. I think that drive to see a gold medal and to sit in a tent with, pros from other sports and to be on ESPN and all that, I think that is going to will Censor and Dito to just, what they've done is squash everything, and they're playing amazing right now in the league. And I think if they can let go of Saints upsetting them, they can beat this TK squad.
And don't forget about Formal here, guys. 1.13 overall KD. He is now going to be the lead slayer entering this tournament if you look at their online statistics. Formal, nasty slayer. Saint, not bad in his own right. 1.06 actually coming into this one. Very small sample size for Saint. But when he needs to, he gets it done, and he originally impressed me playing with Vex during the play-in tournament. He pulled out the sniper, dropped 11 kills on Warhawk. That's something they didn't have when they had Saint on the team. Will he pull out the sniper, catch some teams off guard? That's one of my big questions. But the biggest question for me and this FaZe Black squad is this is a team that loves to play super high tempo, get in your face, guns blazing, SMG, fast-paced action. Can Saint keep up with that? Normally a slightly slower player. Can he fit that mold? I got TK moving on 3-1 in this one, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the upset. Let's keep the show going as it's already 4:12. We only have 45 minutes left before UGC Niagara kicks off. The next match, Optic Gaming VVV. This is Realize's new crew. Kingdom, you're smirking over there. What chance does Realize and VVV have of taking out Optic Gaming in this battle?
None. They're going to be 3-0'd. Period. Optic Gaming is going to 3-0 them. They got third at champs with Imbos. And although I was doubtful, and I still kind of doubtful of the change, and we're going to see some better with Imbos if they don't place top 3 in this. However, Proofy being number 1 at champs in slaying, Scump being number 2 at champs in slaying, and now Scump leading the league in slaying, Proofy being 10th in slaying in the league. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, Scumpy does good on host, and it's because of the quad host and all this kind of stuff. They play better, and they're online warriors, Optic. The reality is that Proofy has the same, almost identical statistic when it comes to that Slayer and that kills per respawn. He's got 26.5, and he had 26.5 at COD champs. And so if Proofy plays like Proofy and Scump plays like Scump, and that X Factor statistic I told you about earlier, you might be surprised, but the X Factor on Optic, the player that if they do well, Optic does well, is actually Clayster. And Proofy was the X Factor on FaZe. So you're putting together just a conglomerate of ridiculous players. And I think Proofy is better on Optic than on FaZe Black. I think that was way too slay heavy.
Okay.
However, I'm picking Optic 3-0. That VVV doesn't. They're good players. Sender is one of those players that, like SB, when they first were getting a team, they were looking at Sender because they just think he's an amazing player. He needs an opportunity, and he'll be dedicated and play his heart out. But Optic's just too good. They're too good for this VVV squad. They're gonna win.
Optic 3-0 says Kingdom. Ben, what's your rebuttal?
There is no rebuttal, I'm afraid. Optic Gaming 3-0. It's going to be over before it's even begun. No disrespect to VVV, but I spent a couple of days with the guys in Chicago casting the Optic LAN, and the comparison between Optic LAN 1 and Optic LAN 2 in terms of just Optic Gaming's just ability is just
ridiculous.
Crazy. I just can't. In my mind, I can't think of a game mode which is going to be close in that series.
I don't think there's a player next to Scumpy's level from that VVV squad, and that's what scares me. If you let Scumpy alone play, I think he still goes positive. So, guys, I got Optic Gaming moving on. Sorry, VVV, that was a little bit of a stretch. But Scumpy's pretty damn good this week if you look at his stats.
Oh, man.
He went 1.45 overall KD on Wednesday. Wow. Optic had a perfect week in the league. They jumped from 8th place all the way into our top 4. Look for them to continue cruising. If you look at their game modes, strongest has been Blitz, surprisingly, with almost a 70% win rate, 65% win rate overall in Search and Destroy, despite going to round 11 multiple times. And in domination, they're still positive with 52% win rate. That's in map. So if you have no weakness coming into this tournament, you're a fierce squad. VVV, they're going to have their hands full. I'm also calling a 3-0 here for Optic. We're going to the next one. Curse Orange Vex, our last matchup to talk about in round 1 of the bottom half of the bracket. Curse Orange, Miyagi, Attach. These kids are really freaking good. Playing with Mud Dog, and I love the leadership from Croster, the veteran. Vex Gaming. This is Huddle and Slack teaming with Pluto, and they picked up Slasher because Saint originally couldn't attend the event. Saint was supposed to be on this Vex squad. That's who they played with in the play-in tournament. Let's kick things off with Curse Orange. Benson, I know you're part of the Curse crew. I'm not going to let you brag about them. So, Kingdom, on to you. What do you know about Curse Orange?
Like I said earlier, they're fighting for their X Games chances. They have to, I was telling Benson during the commercial, I said, text them, tell them they need to play well.
Yeah.
Because they can lose that spot at X Games and not go. And that is going to change the mentality of all of these players. So are they going to play well? Yes, I know that. I believe Gandhi said something about Miyagi was one of the players to watch, that he was going to go off in this tournament. S&D is their best game type, and it looks like statistically Attach is just kind of far above his teammates as far as slaying power goes.
Oh yeah.
And comparing them to Vex, which has better statistically, they're better slaying wise, but they just can't close. They're almost like people used to say LeBron was, like he can't show up in the fourth. And so Vex has to close in order to beat this Curse Orange team, which I don't think they're going to do. I do see Curse Orange taking this. Some of the chemistry that's there from Mud Dog and Croaster and Attach and Miyagi have proved that when necessary, they can show up. And I think that's what's going to happen against Vex, and they're going to take it.
Man, I love this Vex crew. Huddle and Slack, I've been fans of them since I first started commentating Call of Duty with Black Ops 2. Such young, talented players. Pluto, he's always rock solid. Actually had the best performance on the squad. If you look at last week's stats, and Slasher, he's really been the one shining. But Attach, if he plays anything like he does online when it comes to LAN, there's no stopping this man. I've seen him take over games single-handedly. And Mud Dog and Croaster really stepping up their games on Wednesday, giving Curse Orange a 2-1 record overall. They move up in the leaderboard after that performance. I think Mud Dog shows up on LAN again this week, and I have him taking out Vex 3-1. Benson, now I'll let you chat. How bad does your team win?
It's not going to be a whitewash by any means. I think it's going to go 3-2. I think Curse Orange will go through, and that's just because of the passion and the drive that they have to want to win. I've never met anyone who wants to prove a bigger point in my entire life than Mud Dog. He was just renowned as, oh yeah, he's a coach. Got to COD Champs, and that was like a huge thing. And then he felt like he didn't really play very well at COD Champs. And I think this is going to be his kind of redemption for COD Champs. I think you're going to see him play very, very well. A lot of people, look at Coast Orange and they say, hey, those guys, they just have great connection. West Coast, Miyagi Attach, drop serious numbers. But what they don't realize is Mud Dog is playing on a DSL line. I didn't even know they still made those, but apparently they do.
That's like when you use this satellite and shit
so
stuff, right?
It's like you try to turn the internet on, it dials a phone. It's basically that, and you hear the phone dialing. So you have to kind of counterbalance that in essence. So for me, Vex, very talented, and I definitely expect them to take a couple of maps off. But as soon as Curse Orange get warmed up and get going, that's when I think they'll make a good run.
All right, so Vex, a very well-rounded lineup. How strong are they on tournament day? I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset here, but I'm going by the seeds as we advance them in the bracket. On that matchup, Kingdom, what do you call? 3-0, 3-1, 3-2?
I'm going to call it a 3-2, and something Benson was saying that just made me think is that, and Benson, you probably know this better than I do, but I think from watching just Twitter and social media, that Mud Dog kind of seems like not just a connection as far as online, but that he's good at connecting with his teammates. And so
110% agree.
Yeah, I think that's going to help them a lot, and they love playing together, and I think that's what's going to help them just kind of move forward and win this. With Vex making a recent change roster-wise, when they got rid of Saint, I think Curse Orange is going to take this 3-2, and I think they'll win the search, and that's how they're going to win.
Calling it in search. All right, you guys are going game 5. I'm saying it won't even get there. Curse Orange takes it in 4. But if it does go game 5, Croaster doesn't normally go positive. He'll do it when he needs to. Guys, we're going to commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about these 4 squads. There's 8 of them in round 2. Fuck it. 16 divided by 2. 8. Complexity. Strictly Business. FaZe Red. Envy. TK, Optic Gaming, Curse Orange, and Optic Nation. I've been celebrating Benson's birthday early. You should too during this commercial break. Be right back.